This is a big day, and it's a big debate in City Hall that may change the way our police officers do policing in town. So the City Council is expected to approve two significant measures that Mayor Adams is strongly against, Mike.
So one would ban solitary confinement at city jails in most cases. The other one would require officers to report all street stops. Now, what does that mean exactly? And for our show, we want to break down what is the language behind that second bill, because so many people, we see officers all the time. People take pictures with NYPD officers.
I understand
what
this means.
A lot.
Right.
Yeah.
So we got some help. To help us is adjunct professor at John Jay College of Criminal Justice, Keith Ross, who is also a retired NYPD Police Academy master instructor. I think we got the right person to break this down for us, because it is a bit confusing. What exactly does it mean?
Well, thank you for having me. This is called the How Many Stops Act, Bill 586. And really what it's referencing is a New York State Court of Appeals case, People versus DeBoer, which sort of outlines 4 levels of police-citizen encounters. What this bill talks about is non-custodial stops, level 1 encounters, which is request for information, and level 2 encounters, which are common law right of inquiry encounters based on a founded suspicion. What was funny, while I was waiting to appear with you, the last story that you were showing, where we had reporters interviewing that little girl. My question is, if a police officer was conducting an interview of that little girl, which would be considered a level 1 encounter, does that need to be documented? And what exactly needs to be documented? Are we just doing sort of data like race, gender,
can I roll you back just 1 second? Because we have two sides of this, and I just want to be very clear about what we're trying to understand here. So according to the City Council, they want more accountability with when police have that level 1 or 2 encounter. They want to know how many times a police officer may talk to someone in the community. But the mayor is saying that if you now have to file paperwork every time you have this encounter, then we may be pulling officers off the streets. And I think our goal here is to have safer streets and safer communities. So I think what I'm wondering is, do we have is this the right measure to accomplish our goals? So can you tell me when, if I'm a police officer, do I have to fill out paperwork, and tell me when I might have to, what kind of, like when I'm talking to somebody, when does this come into play?
Well, that's a great question, and there is a lot of ambiguity in this bill as to when police actually have to document. If someone comes up to a police officer asking for directions, that's a request for information. Do police officers now have to document that? The way the bill is sort of written, at least from what I saw, it's regarding these level 1 and level 2, these non-custodial encounters that escalate to either the point of summonsing and/or a use of force. Well, the NYPD right now has mechanisms for use of force incidents that they do have to be documented. And if we're talking about a summons, if a person is issued a summons, that is paperwork in of itself. It's the language of this level 1 and level 2 encounters. And everyone wants a transparent police department. Everyone wants a transparent government. I think the question is, are you going to bog down police officers in so much paperwork that it's going to start impacting response times?
And that is one of the contentions of one of the co-sponsors, Public Advocate Jumaane Williams, who says, look, this is just going to be a few questions that can be answered on a smartphone. We'll see how all that plays out. But Mayor Adams, meanwhile, is saying we already have some of those mechanisms to document. Perhaps what they really want to know is the race, the gender, who police are talking to, and how frequently they're talking to him or her on the street. So we only have like 30, 45 more seconds, but say if a police officer helps a tourist with directions in Times Square or something like that, how long of an interaction will that be to then fill out paperwork? In other words, like, how long of a paperwork framework is there right now to do that? Or is that not even a thing because we don't have the ability?
It's not even a thing right now, and no one knows how much paperwork is actually going to take place. But a real quick example, level 1 encounters. What happens if a police officer is investigating a missing person, a missing child? Time is of the essence here. What do you want the police officer to do? To locate that missing child, or to be bogged down in paperwork to make sure that they're covered under this act? It's a question.
The bill is expected to pass. It has more than 30 co-sponsors, but Mayor Adams promising to veto it. We'll see how it plays out today.
Thank you, Keith.
Right.
Appreciate your help.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Merry Christmas.
You too.
Same to you.